This is stage 3 of the letterhead assignment. This is what your letterhead will look like at the end of stage 3. Let's go back to stage 2. We created a vector graphic, custom shape, and then added graphic frames, filled it with a stroke or border, and added the rounded corner, then aligned these two objects with one another on the page. So today we're going to be placing some external images. If you're following along in the textbook, you can turn to page 57. The first thing we're going to do is place an Illustrator file up at the left corner, and we're going to place the logo for the company that this letterhead is designed for. So similar to what you would be doing for your personal creative project, you will design a logo for the Ivory Tower, the Scholar wine product, and you will be placing a logo on your letterhead. So it doesn't have to be at the upper left corner, but it would you would want to place it somewhere where it is visible and clear and as a focal point, and you don't want it to intrude with the actual space where the letter would be printed on. So I am going to go to File, Place, or Command D is the shortcut, and look for the Illustrator AI file that's called gcmlogo.ai, and AI stands for Adobe Illustrator. Then I'm going to click Show Import Options and Open, and now I can look at the options that I have. I can click on layers, and you can select an individual layer if you wanted to place one layer. You can turn the visibility of the layer on and off. In this case, we only have one layer. Then I can go back to general, and I can change the options for how to place this artwork. I can place it with the bounding box, with the crop marks, trimmed, or with a bleed. In this case, I want to select art. I just want to place the artwork, and I'm going to place it on a transparent background. So I'm just going to place this logo with a transparent background. And the advantage of creating a logo in Illustrator is Illustrator is a vector-based program, and so you can create a vector graphic that is not resolution dependent in Illustrator, and you can go back and resize it, and it won't matter if you enlarge it, you won't lose quality. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and then place that up in the upper left corner within my guidelines. Now, InDesign is also a vector program, so you could even create your logos directly in InDesign as well. InDesign is designed more for layout, so you will probably have more flexibility with tools in Illustrator and more tools you can use for drawing, but you could do a simple logo that is vector-based in InDesign as well. So once you've brought in the logo, make sure that it is placed within the 1/4 inch mark, so you can open up your properties menu. Make sure your XY coordinates are at 0.25, and we're going to select the upper left reference point. Make sure that in your InDesign Preferences interface window that the live screen drawing immediate is checked on. If it is not, there may be a delay and you won't see the graphics immediately. So if you just switch it to immediate, that should fix that problem. I'm going to switch to my selection tool, and in my properties panel, I want to look at the frame fitting. If you don't see your other options, you can click on the 3 dots to expand your options. And then I'm going to check the auto fit box under frame fitting. With that checked, I can resize this logo. So this logo is obviously too big for my letterhead. If I grab the lower right handlebar in the corner there and drag it to the left, because I selected auto fit, it's going to automatically fit that logo into my frame as I resize it. If I don't check auto fit, what happens is when I resize the frame, it doesn't resize the artwork within it. So I'm going to undo that. Another thing you could do is select Shift Command and then grab that corner handlebar, and it'll resize it proportionally. So I'm going to resize this until the height of my frame is about 1.6 inches high. then my artwork is still not fitting quite proportionally in my frame. So I'm going to go back to the properties panel, and you can also access it up here in the control panel either way. And I want to select fill frame proportionally. And then if it's still cutting it off, I can go to fit content proportionally so that it's going to fit the entire artwork into my frame proportionally. I'm going to zoom into this logo area here, and I'm using my hand tool now to move this around. Then I'm going to go back to my selection tool, and you can see that you're in the selection tool. You see the blue frame with the handlebars. If I hover over the center, you'll see this double circle in the center, and you'll see a hand appear, and that's to show that you are now in the content grabber. So if I click in the content grabber, you'll see an orange or gold frame appear, and that shows me I am now grabbing the content, not the frame. So I can move the content inside the frame, and I'm not moving the frame itself. So I can adjust the content within the frame using the content grabber. So I can move it to the left, and I'm going to check to make sure my coordinates for my content are at 0, 0. So because that gold frame is appearing, these coordinates are for the content and not for the actual frame. Now I can fit, I'm going to switch back to my selection tool, so you can just deselect by clicking off, then click on the frame again. This time I want to fit my frame to my artwork. So I'm going to select under frame fitting, fit frame to content. And that's just going to resize my frame to fit the content in it. Now I want to place photos inside these graphic frames on the bottom of the page. I'm going to zoom into that area and go to File Place with a shortcut Command D as in dog. So I'm in my GC Market folder, and I want to select these TIFF files. So TIFF, you get a higher quality file if you save it as a TIFF format. I'll show you more about Photoshop in a separate video. But if you save it as a TIFF file, you won't lose quality. If you save it as a JPEG, every time you save it as a JPEG, it's going to compress the file and you're going to lose some quality. So to retain the quality, we want to save our files as TIFF. I want to select in this order. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to cancel out. I want to set up these graphic frames before I place my images. So I'm going to switch to my direct selection tool, or I can use my selection tool and double click to isolate each frame here. And then I want to use my frame fitting option. You can also go to your layers. So let's go to layers. We haven't used layers yet. So if you don't see layers, just go to Window, Layers to open that menu. And then expand the layer by clicking on the arrow next to it, and you can see that the rectangles are grouped. So I'm going to need to expand that group, and you can see that there are 5 rectangles within here. So I can select each rectangle. So I'm going to select the rectangle on the far right with the rounded corner. So make sure you're in your selection tool when you select that layer. So let me go back and make sure I'm in my selection tool, the black tool. I'm selecting the rectangle on the far right, going back to my properties menu. Then I'm going to select auto fit under frame fitting and click on options to bring up more options. So I want to fill the frame proportionally, and I'm going to select, I want to align it from the upper left corner, and then click OK. And I can do that for all these other graphic frames. So if I go back to layers, I can select all of these by holding down the Shift key. I can select all 4 rectangles at once, go back to properties and do the same thing, select auto fit, align it from the upper left, fill the frame proportionally, and click OK. Now I have set these up so that every photo that I place in here is going to fill the frame proportionally, and it's going to be aligned from the upper left. So now I am ready to place the images. I'm going to deselect, go to File, Place, or Command D as for dog, and now I want to select these images in the order as listed in the textbook. So first select Coffee, TIFF, hold down the Command key to select other images that are out of order. So the second one is Cream Puffs, then fruit, then peppers, and then lastly spices. And I don't need to show the import options in this case, so I'm going to deselect that and click open. And I want to place it so you can see on my cursor, it shows me that there are 5 images loaded onto the cursor. I want to go from left to right here, and if you want to click right in the center of the X or crossbar, if you don't do that, it may place it outside of the frame. So I'm going to click it right on the center from left to right. And now I've placed all 5 images, and they're all placed proportionally because I already set those up. I'm going to hit Command 0, my shortcut, to fit the whole page in view. And now I have my Illustrator logo placed on the page, and I have my TIFF Photoshop images placed inside my graphic frames. And that concludes stage 3.